And the daddy was a little sensible, and all of a sudden struck him. What? God is what? Now? Here. And it struck him. Anything in the world which is always now and here and never becomes there and then is called God. Think about it, all of you. Keep this with you as a thought. What? Anything in this world, find out what is always now and here and never becomes there and then. Think. What is it that always remains now and here and never ever becomes there and then for us? Anything that you can think of? Now and here, right now. I'm talking about something that is happening right now here. And it will never, never, never become there and then. Come on, everyone think. What is it that is always now and here? You're experiencing it as now. See, Vimalananda, when you go back home, will become there and then. Is it true or not? You'll forget me, or you'll think of, she's in the ashram, she's there, and then we heard her. Is it true or not? But what will remain now and here, even when you go back home? This talk will become there and then. This place will become there and then. Everyone in this audience will become there and then. But what will remain now and here? Come on. What will remain now and here for you and never become there and then? What? I. In each one of us, the I always remains. I remain here and now. Is it true or not? Wherever you go in the other end of the world, you go also, I am here and now, right? Come on. It never. Can you say, I will not exist at all? Come on, try. Close your eyes if you want concentration. Try and experience that I don't exist. Try. Try to experience that I don't exist. Can you? Can you? Why not? Who will experience I? What? That I do. I am already there to experience what? So how can I say I am not there and therefore I am always there? Then where am I? I am right here. Yaha antasthani bhutani. Where am I? Here, right within. This I, that existence which is everywhere, is available within as I. Antasthani bhutani. It's a very lovely story in the Ramayana. The monkeys were sent to search for Sita ji. Isn't it? Sugriva sent a whole battalion in the south direction to search for Sita ji. And he sent the best of his monkey soldiers because he knew that most probably Sita ji would be in the south. And therefore Hanuman ji was there and Jambavant and all those Nala, Nila, the really good soldiers were all sent to the south. And as they were searching, they became very thirsty and dejected. But Hanumanji led them into a beautiful cave which had a lot of water, a lake. And when they went there, they found a tapaswini, a lady monk who was sitting there in meditation. So all these monkeys, they went and sat and said, can we have some satsang? Please tell us something nice and wise. We are all dejected. We are not able to find Sita ji. Now Sita ji represents peace, happiness, love. Okay? We want to search for her. We are not able to find her. We are going around here and there. We've got a limited time in which we can search. And if we don't, Sugriva is going to get very angry with us. Please guide us. Can you tell us something by which we can find Sita ji? Very interestingly, she told everyone, close your eyes and sit. When you close your eyes and sit, you will find Sita ji. They said, but she's supposed to be somewhere far away. What are we supposed to do? No. Close your eyes and you will see. And then when they closed their eyes, They found Sita ji. They found exactly where, and they started moving towards that direction. They found themselves all of a sudden on the banks of on the shore, ocean shore, right across Lanka, where Sita ji was there. Have you understood? So what are we searching? Where are we searching for peace all the time? Where are we searching? Always outside somewhere. And where is it? Right here in our heart. All we have to do is antasthani bhutani, just turn within to see this. That eternal, that imperishable truth. Okay, let me put it this way, a little differently. In this world, there are two types of attainment. One is achieving the thing which is not achieved. For example, I don't have money. So if I ask you how to get money, you give me guidance. Swamiji, if you do this, 1, 2, 3, you get a lot of money. Okay, fine. Just because you tell me how to get money, will I get money? No. I will have to do something. So therefore, knowledge plus action is equal to gain of something. Is that understood? Yes? Keep nodding your head so I know you've. Because I don't know, you might just switch off every time or sleep, we don't know. So therefore, if you, some reaction, then I know. Okay. So what we find, that we want to achieve something which we have not gained so far, you need knowledge plus action. What first, knowledge or action? Obviously, knowledge and then action. Right knowledge and right action. I can't do something else, and then I will get. No, I won't. Supposing I want to go from here to the US, then I have to get the right flight, isn't it? The right action. I can't take another flight to somewhere else. I have to take the right flight and I have to do the right, I have to have the right knowledge and the right action. Then I will get my whatever I want to do. For getting something which is not gained, right knowledge plus right action is equal to gain. Now in life, there's another type of gain which is very different. It is the gain of something already gained. I'll give you an example to understand. In most houses, you must be having this sort of a thing early morning, in the morning when you're very, very much in a hurry to go to office, send the children to school, etc. The keys tend to get lost in every house. Does it happen? Where is the key? Where is the key? I had kept it. It was right here. Where was it? I think it's here. Where is it? You start searching in every possible corner, in the most odd places also sometimes. One lady was busy searching in the chapati and that roti flour, box. I said, why are you searching? But I had taken out the flour for making roti. Maybe it fell there. So you search everywhere and all. And then you ask the little boy in your home, the 5-year-old, because all the gadbad, all the problem, he only is creating. So you ask him, Chunnu, where is the key? Have you seen the key? Did you do something with it? Where is the key? And what does this little baby say? Cheeky fellow that he is. He says, not only have I seen it, I am seeing it right now. And the mother says, I've been searching for half an hour. Why don't you tell me? Where is it? Mummy, it is hanging from your waist. In the good old days, they wear a sari and they put it there. It's hanging from. Now, where is the key? Is it already gained or ungained? It's already gained. It's already with me. But it appeared ungained because of ignorance. That was the only reason. That was right here. Now to gain that which is already with us, it's already gained, all you need is knowledge. Is it true or not? Do you need any action? No action. If you say, because I can't find my key, I will go for Char Dham Yatra. I'll go to India and I'll go and dip myself in the holy Ganges. Will you get your key? No. To get the key. No, I will do Hanuman Chalisa 25 times. You can do Hanuman Chalisa, very good, but that doesn't guarantee what? For getting that key, all you need is knowledge of where it is. Is it true or not? No action, only knowledge. Now, to gain the self, the infinite self which is within me, which category does it fall in? it falls into something unattained or something already attained. Where is it? It's already attained, but appears unattained because of ignorance. And for that, what should you do? Turn around and know it, understand it, realize it, contemplate on it, and you will get it. Antasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatvam. This is what is said. And this attaining, this is how it is very, very beautiful. Once you attain it, it's never lost. See, when you go to some place, you have to return back. Whatever, supposing you go to Switzerland for your vacation, you have a lot of money, but at the end of it, you have to come back. Is it true or not? Anything which is attained in time perishes. It's over. Anything attained through action doesn't remain permanent. But that which is attained as my own self never perishes. That is why it is said, Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. The supreme abode is that, having attained which there is no more return. Yam prapya na nivartante. What a beautiful statement Bhagavan Shri Krishna makes. Okay, we understand that is within us and we should not, but we have heard that, there is heaven and all that. I am interested. How can I reach heaven? If I die over here, how will I go? I don't know the road to heaven. Let us say I've done so many good actions and I know I'm going to go to heaven. But I don't have the address. I don't have the directions. And how will I go? Someone had a similar question. He asked another person, can you tell me the address to the police station, nearest police station? So another person advised him, he's saying it's a very simple, you don't have to know the address of the police station. Put your hand in someone else's pocket and you shall be taken over there. Is it true or not? You don't have to know the address. You put your hand in someone else's pocket and royally you will be taken in a special van by special people who will guide you all the way till you reach the police. They won't allow you to in between. All the way you get to go. Free ticket to the police station. If you understood this, the scriptures describe two paths by which you go to heavens. Uttarayana Marga and Dakshinayana Marga. Two paths. The Dakshinayana Marga, that path goes to Svargaloka, heavens. And Uttarayana Marga, the other one, goes to Brahmaloka. Remember I described two lokas? Brahmaloka is the loka of the realm of the creator, Brahmaji, which is the highest standard of living, and Chandraloka is the realm which is Svargaloka. Svargaloka is considered, heavens are considered lower than the creator's world, okay? Creator's world, the standard of living is much, much higher than it is in Svargaloka, in the heavens. That's the description given in the scriptures, okay? So how do you go there? So this is being described now in this topic. Now, when you read all this, you say, this is all, I don't identify with all this stuff. It seems too remote and, there's nothing. Okay, let's put it this way. Can you decide where you go? Can you decide your time of death? Are you independent in choosing the path that you go from here on? Can you decide your time of death? Do you have independence in where you can go later? You have the freedom. Have you heard that if a person dies in Kashi, Banaras, he gets moksha? Have you heard such things? Yes or no? You must have heard that. So, can I decide then where I am going? If you say the last moment when I am dying will decide where I am going, somehow or the other I can manipulate. Is it possible that I can manipulate at last moment and I can choose where I want to go? Supposing all my life I have been thinking of God, but the last moment, maybe I die in an accident and I don't remember God. All that remembering of God will go in vain and have no effect. Why? Because the last thought was about that car who was dashing towards me. So will all my prayers and everything have no effect? Now this is all questions you are interested in. Is it true or not? Whether Chandrayaan and Dakshinayan you may not be interested. These are all the questions that get answered through this particular discussion that happens. Am I independent? Achha, by the way, can I know how long I'm going to live? Astrologers tell you. Yes or no? Is it accurate? Sometimes absolutely on the mark. How? What is it? Do you know? The day you are born, not even that, before that, okay, let's put it in through an example. When you go to a pharmacy and you buy a bottle of medicine, sometimes you check out to see the expiry date. Is it true or not? The expiry date, when is it printed on the bottle? Before it comes into the market. Is it true or not? First the expiry date is stamped and then you get it. The bottle, it's even filled in and then it's sent out. Okay? Now, if you have understood that, the expiry date on this bottle is stamped before this bottle is sent on the earth. Have you understood that? This bottle means all of you I'm talking about. Not me. All of you, the expiry date has been stamped on you before you've been sent onto this earth. Really, Swamiji, where is it written? It's written in, and if you see, sometimes it's written in such tiny letters you can't read. Exactly the same condition for us. It's written in invisible ink. We can't read it. How is our life measured? Our life is measured in the number of breaths that you will take on this earth. What? It's been decided. You will take so many breaths on this earth. Now, if you breathe slowly, what? You shall live longer. When you are angry, you breathe fast. Right or wrong? I'm trying to demonstrate this. I lost a little of my life. When you're happy, breathing becomes slow and rhythmic. Is it true or not? Always in high tension and the breathing is fast. So, number of breaths is decided. Now you can use those breaths as you want. And that is why yogis seem to live sometimes 200 years, 300 years, 500 years. Have you heard such cases? 1,000 years. Some of them are like that. They'll take one breath, 6 months, no more breath. Wow. Next, after 6 months, one more breath. And then again, next 6 months, no breath. It will last for what? Can you imagine that? It's possible. You can try. It requires a lot of effort, doesn't just happen like that, you know. So the number of breaths are fixed. When you finish that, there you are. Then where will you go? As I told you, the final account. But when they say Kashi, if you die, what will happen and all? The atmosphere is more conducive and they're very likely that your thoughts will become of that particular nature, and then when your thoughts become sattvic, you tend to go to a proper, a elevated or a great noble place, and so it's possible like that, definitely possible. Now, how will I go to those different places? They say, you don't worry. When you die, you will be taken. Who will take me? There are appointed deities. I told you about those deities, Devatas. How many of them are there? 33 crores. People were asking me, what is crore? Because nowadays, over here, only people talk in millions. Na? So 10 lakh is equal to 1 million. 100 lakhs is equal to 1 crore. So 100 lakhs is equal to 10 million, right? So it is how many? 330 million. Okay. How many devatas are there? How many deities are there? 330 million. I think you all understand the language of million better, right? In India, we are used to lakhs and crores. So million, we don't understand much. So 330 million devatas are there. All over the universe, huh? And they say whenever there is satsang, the name of God, all of them come there. Swamiji. So we never worry about the audience. Because there might be 2-3 people sitting there, but actually it is what? 332. Not 332 million and 2 or 3 or 100 or whatever, That's what is said, that all the devatas, they love satsang. They don't get a chance for satsang in heaven, so they all come, and wherever there is satsang going on, they're all there. Meaning all auspicious things happen over there. That's the whole idea. So what happens is that there are special appointed people. For example, when a great person is coming, a guest is coming, then you appoint certain people to take care of them, and you tell them, lead them from one place to the other. Is it true or not? Don't you do that? You say so and so is appointed, you have to lead so and so from here to here. And then that person will be handed over to someone else. That's what they do, Someone comes to my room, they bring